You went from 9 to 5, like normal office job. Now you're running Google Ads agency from Thailand. And like, how did that happen?
I was literally messaging them and I was saying, I will do this job for free, just for experience. If you can give me a chance, and if I do it well, will you give me a positive review? You'd think that would be a successful strategy, right? But I must have applied for 100 jobs, 200 jobs. Nobody even replied. But I saw the possibility and I was like, okay, it's worth a try, you know? I just need to keep going and don't give up and stick with it. In the past, I maybe hired skill over attitude, which at the time I thought was the right move, you know? But I think nowadays I would much rather hire for attitude and build the skills. I've heard examples of agencies or freelancers that they build the Google Ads campaigns in their account and then you as a client pay for them. To me, that's always a red flag, you know?
If you had to name your biggest Gambit, since we are the founders Gambit, like what's the riskiest decision or a biggest sacrifice that you did? Welcome everybody to the new episode of the Founders Gambit. Joining me today is John. He's managed Google Ads campaigns that brought in more than $100 million in sales. John, welcome to the podcast, man.
Thanks, Gabriel. Nice to see you, buddy.
Yeah, you too, man. I think kind of best way to start is if you tell us a bit about yourself, your journey, who you are, and what do you guys do?
Okay, yeah. So my name is John Martin. I run a Google Ads agency called Paid Ads, paidads.io. We work with clients all over the world in many different industries. I like to say that we niche down on platform. We only do Google Ads, but for pretty much any viable business that has a good offer or a good product and money to invest in Google Ads. So yeah, that's us.
That's funny you mentioned like you niche down the platform. Like was there a decision behind that? Did you start with Google Ads or did you do everything and then niche down?
Yeah, good question. So personally, I like Google Ads compared to some of the other platforms. To me, it's a lot more direct. Like it's a lot more, you know, you put money in, you get money out, and there's not much smoke and mirrors, you know. And I that appeals to me personally. So I always like Google Ads. And I suppose my journey was as a freelancer first. So Google Ads was, you know, the skill that I learned first, or AdWords, what that was as it was called at the time. And it just kind of snowballed from there, really. You know, it was my skill set. Started freelancing in my spare time. It built up, you know, built a team, and we just kind of stuck with Google Ads. And I think now we're kind of known for it. And when I talk to people, a lot of people actually appreciate the fact that we're Google Ads only. You know, it's a complex platform on its own, and I think a lot of people now value the fact that we do one thing and we do it well. You know.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think that's really important. Like you do something well, you stick with it and you bring obviously amazing results, as we know. So let's go back a bit. So how did you start? I know you went from 9 to 5, like normal office job, and then now you're running Google Ads agency from Thailand. And like, how did that happen? How did that?
Yeah, it sounds cliche, doesn't it? You know, moving to Thailand, but it's true. Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I was many years ago. I was working sort of quote unquote normal like office jobs and doing like marketing. Really trying to figure out what I was doing. You know what I liked. I was bouncing from company to company and worked in a number of different industries. And I mean, I just kind of stumbled into Google Ads at the time as a way to kind of develop my skills and you know, earn a bit of extra money. Really, I think one of the companies I was working with, it was like a traditional marketing role, and they brought in a young guy at the time. I remember, and it was when like digital marketing was really first starting. Like, you know, I don't know, many years ago, over a decade ago, probably 15 years. And I remember he came in with his you know, little Facebook ads or whatever he was doing at the time, email marketing or something, and he outperformed. Although just this guy outperformed like 4 or 5 people on a traditional marketing team, and I was like, that's interesting, wow. And then like paid attention, and so it kind of triggered my interest at that point. So yeah, I spent more time self-taught, you know, got into it, doing online courses. I don't even think at the time there was any content on YouTube, or I don't remember using it. So it was hard to find. So yeah, to kind of stumble my way into it as a sideline at first, and then you know, made some mistakes, recovered.
Yeah.
Yeah. and yeah, just gradually built it up, and then decided it was a great way to have some more flexibility than working an office job. And I remember this particular office job I had. I'm from the UK, obviously, and I'm from Liverpool, which is in the north. And I had this job. It was relatively well paid, but I had to get the train to Birmingham, which is another city. So it was like 90-minute train in the morning, then a walk to the office. And I remember it was like January in northern England. It's not nice, it was cold, away, and miserable. And I was like, oh, I've got to try and figure this laptop Google Ads thing out. So that was really the motivation. I've always hated winter. And then, yeah, Thailand just kind of came later on, being location independent, having a business that you could run from a laptop seemed like a good idea. And I've been in ever since. So yeah, I love it.
Cool. I want to touch on a couple of points here. Like, I love that you mentioned like a random guy just joining, a random younger guy, right? Just joining in and sparking like, okay, he's onto something here. Like, he just
For sure.
outperformed the whole team.
I
And
mean, it might not have been the best team in the world, to be fair, but
yeah,
but yeah, he did. Yeah, he came in and he blew it apart. I was like, yeah, it definitely piqued my interest.
that's really, really nice. I want to like touch a bit on like you didn't just quit your job one day and decided, hey, I'll go to Thailand and start freelancing. Like it was more it was rather you taught yourself Google Ads while working full time, and for some reason it transitioned slowly to freelancing, and only then once you got a couple of clients, you move to an agency model that you run right now. I think that's the part that most people just don't understand or skip while hearing these great stories. They just see the end result, right? How were those days looking for you, right? Having full-time job, and then what were some resources you were learning Google Ads from?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, I have to put myself back in that times a long time ago, but yeah, like it started as just a way to earn a bit of extra cash. Working in the evenings, working at the weekends. Training really. I mean, in a way, I was getting paid to train because I was freelancing. I mean, I remember actually a bit of a tangent, but I was working on Upwork, or it was called something else at the time, Odesk or something else
Mhm.
anyway. And obviously, I had no experience. I had no no profile, no case studies, no nothing. I mean, I was a total beginner. And I remember I was literally messaging people that would post jobs on there looking for Google Ads. I was literally messaging them and I was saying, I will do this job for free, just for experience. If you can give me a chance, and if I do it well, will you give me a positive review? You'd think that would be a successful strategy, right? But I must have applied for 100 jobs, 200 jobs. Nobody even replied. And I remember there was a guy in Ireland who it was a small job, but he said, "Yeah, okay, cool." And we jumped on a call, and he was the nicest guy. And I did it, and it went well, and everyone was happy, and I was like, got my first review. I was like stoked, and he was like, "I'm gonna pay you." And I was like, "No, no, no, it's not necessary." And he absolutely insisted. He was like, "No, look, you've done a good job. You deserve paying." And I was like, "Wow, he's still a client today.
Oh, that's amazing.
He's
That's
still a
amazing.
client today." I'm proud to say, yeah. So yeah, that's how we got started.
That's insane. Yeah, and these couple first clients, did they like? Obviously it's super hard to get any clients without any tools, any knowledge. You're just starting out. Like, was there any other strategies other than applying on Upwork or these kinds of platforms? Like, how did you try and find these first clients? Are there some tips and tricks someone can use right now to get a couple of these success stories so they can get better clients and go
Yeah,
on?
maybe, yeah. I mean, for me, I didn't have any connections or experience with this particular skill set. Like, it was a long time ago. It didn't feel to me to be so mainstream. Maybe it was, and I was just ignorant to it at that stage. So I really didn't have anybody I could ask, or I didn't really have anybody I knew. So it was lonely at times, like you're trying to learn this skill. Nobody's there to teach you, and you have to kind of persevere. So I remember having, it was tough sometimes. But yeah, for me, the only sort of source I could find was Upwork. So I really hammered it. It wasn't skill. It wasn't anything else. It was volume. I just absolutely applied for every job, offered to work for free, um, and just really hammered it. And I would, in terms of advice to other people going through that journey, I think you have to do that. I think you have to go through that painful period. Like, unless you maybe there's better ways to do it, but I think you just have to bite down on your gum shield, as they say, and get through that phase. And I think as soon as you can do that, you might make some good connections, first of all. I mean, like I just said, that my first client is still a client now, like a decade later or more. So, maybe that will happen. They're nice if they do. But I think you just have to do that. And I think once you start to gain a bit of momentum, get some case studies, get some referrals, it starts to snowball gradually. I would also say, I mean, for me, in those early stages, like quick success is maybe not ideal, although that's what you want at the time. I mean, I look back now, and if I instantly got like 10 clients or whatever, I'm pretty confident I would have messed it up, So sometimes the grind is painful, but necessary, I think,
I agree with that 100%. And I also agree on the point that it's maybe better to go slower at the start and make sure you're doing good stuff and getting good results for people rather than you can take many clients now because you have the infrastructure, you have the knowledge, you have people. It's different than taking 5 clients then and doing poor job for all of them. So
Exactly.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's
And,
what
I see people now, I have sometimes, freelancers or people trying to like recycle our case studies, like that happens.
oh,
And,
horrible.
yeah, but I understand why people are doing it. They're trying to just, bridge that gap from where they are to where they want to be. But you're kind of just cheating yourself. Like you need to gain that experience, or, too much too quick is often not ideal, really. It might not feel like it at the time, but looking back now, I'm glad it was a slow, painful process.
Yeah, I can totally agree on that. Like I have a funny story about Upwork. My friend was posting a job. He was looking for someone to help him build websites. And a guy reached out to him and sent one of the websites that my team built. And my friend was like, "Okay, wait, didn't you guys do this?" And like literally, they are doing anything they can, even this shady stuff, and they don't understand that it doesn't help them. It just
No.
diminishes them.
Yeah, it's that fake it till you make it thing, isn't it? And I think not so much when I was getting started, but I think now also there's a lot more information out there especially to younger people. Like all this like courses on how to become a freelancer or become an agency, grow an agency, all this kind of stuff. And I think oftentimes people look at it as a quick way to make money. And maybe it is for some people on some scale, but I think if you want to do it properly, you have to take the lessons as well,
Agree.
painful as they are.
So let's set up some kind of timeline here. So you're on your job, and then while you're full time working, you are getting some clients or trying to get some clients in freelancing. How long was that period? Like while you were doing both simultaneously, then deciding to quit your job.
It was a while. Yeah, it was a while. I mean, I would say at least 12 months. Um,
Hmm.
and for the same reasons, like I was also building my skills. I never trained to do this particular role. So that was part of the process, and getting things wrong. And luckily the first client that I had I mean, he is a really nice guy. And I would just be honest with him. I'd be like, look, I've made a mistake. It went wrong. I'm not sure what happened, but I will figure it out. And he was like really patient. And, for sure he was way further ahead in his career at that time than I was at the time. And I think perhaps he saw that and,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
was patient. And,
Grind.
and yeah, I needed that, and so yeah, it was a while. It was at least 12 months. I don't remember exactly, but it took a while. And I had one client for a very long time. I purposely just tried to focus and do my best work for one person, and then two, and then gradually it kind of increased over time.
Nice. And was there like a point what was the point where you decided to kind of move away from your full-time job and do the freelancing full-time? Was there a number of, let's say you get 5 clients and then you'll do it, or was it something
No,
on the works?
I mean, I think it was. I mean, it was definitely that train journey. That was the that was a big motivator. But in terms of like the mechanics of it, if I recall correctly, I think I quit before I had enough money to fully support myself. Like maybe I was 50%. I don't remember the exact numbers. Maybe I was making 50% of my usual salary. But I just saw that it was possible. I was like, okay, if it was 30% or 50%, whatever it was, I thought, okay, I just need another one client or two or whatever it was at the time. Yeah. So I could see that it was possible. So I was nowhere near the salary that I was earning in the office job, but I saw the possibility and I was like, okay, it's worth a try. I just need to keep going and, don't give up and stick with it. So yeah, I definitely jumped before it was probably sensible.
Yeah, that makes sense. And do you think that helped you? Like you were earning an X amount of money in your last job, and now you cut your income in half. Do you think that gave you some kind of push and some kind of motivation to try and make this work?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, at the time, it wasn't like I had savings or some buffer. Like, I didn't like have the luxury of planning it and thinking, okay, let me stack 6 months expenses or something. So I think that maybe not the most intelligent choice, but I think it did help indirectly because, well, I mean, I had very little choice. It had to work. But it wasn't a blind step as well. Like I knew that I'd had one customer for over a year, I think. Maybe I had two or three, and I knew it was possible. I knew I could do it. I had no vision of running an agency or anything like that at the time. It was just purely kind of support myself and kind of work from a laptop. To me, that was a dream. I can go wherever I want and connect to the internet and make money. Like I'm in. Like that was it. That was as far as
Yeah.
the vision went. So
No more
everything else after
train.
that was a bonus. No more train, and obviously escape British winters if possible. Like that's a good goal in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm same on that side. Like here in Croatia, we don't have like these severe winters, but still, I don't like this. Like now, it's already starting to get cold. Like, give me sun, beach, and I'm fine. Yeah,
Yeah,
um,
I mean,
I
yeah,
can.
it's a luxury to be able to say that. I don't take it for granted, but yeah, it was definitely a big part of my motivation.
Yeah, nice. And what was the decision behind going from a freelancer to an agency? Was it were you like, hey, I'm every day, all time on these client projects, and now I need someone to help me and scale? Like, what was the decision behind that?
Yeah, again, it was kind of like a slow, organic thing. I didn't have a master plan as such at the time. I picked up a handful of clients. I don't remember the number, maybe four or five, or around that, single digits certainly. Um, and I remember at one point thinking, like, this is fine. Like, have four or five clients, make a decent living, have flexibility. I remember thinking, like, I thought, okay, maybe this is it. Like, this is not bad. Like, this, okay, cool. And then I don't know what happened, but over the time, more people. I think I started to get a couple of recommendations, and more people were asking me, and it just made. I just thought, okay, I need some support. And yeah, I think it was just a gradual process, really. I never had a master plan. It was just kind of organic.
Yeah, that makes sense. And what was the first hire like? Who was that person? Like, was it someone you knew? Was it actually someone who applied? Like, how did that look?
Well, it was stages again. So I think if I recall, I hired a couple of. I mean, obviously, having cut my teeth on Upwork, the first place I looked again was Upwork
Mhm.
because I'd never worked. I didn't have any agency experience. I'd never worked in a digital marketing company. I didn't. I wasn't in any clubs socially that anything to do with digital marketing or Google Ads. So I really didn't have anywhere to turn. So Upwork was the natural place for me. So I think I posted for part time support. Um, Hired a couple of people. Most of them were bad, unreliable. Maybe I wasn't the best person at hiring at that time as well. I probably didn't know what to look for. Maybe I could have done a better job, but yeah, unreliable. Didn't have a great experience. And then I think also I brought in like a staffing agency, not too dissimilar to hire a dev for a short period of time, and that worked. I don't remember the name of the company, but that worked for a period of time. I think 6 months. I had a guy working with me, and he was pretty good. And then I think it just built to the point where the business could support a full time hire. So yeah, my first hire was Daniel, who's you know him. He's still with me today,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's turned out well. I've gotten better at hiring since.
That's great that you mentioned. Like, I always find people struggling with these first hires because you don't know what you're doing, right? You're trying to find someone to do something you're doing, but that's impossible, and you need to accommodate. like what are some of the things or main traits you look now when you're hiring? Especially you're in a unique situation. You have this face-to-face conversation. It's all remote. It's all over the internet. What are some of the struggles there, and how do you find these A players that can really help you grow and you can help them grow?
Yeah, so depends on the role, of course. I mean, we're at a stage now with the agency where we're hiring at different levels, so it depends on the role. I would say I've made mistakes, of course, and learned from them in the past. I think one thing that really sticks with me now, obviously, what we do is technical by nature. You know, Google Ads. It's you need technical knowledge. Um, but I think in the past I maybe hired skill over attitude, which at the time I thought was the right move. You know, experience is important, skill is important, but I think nowadays I would much rather hire for attitude and build the skills. You know, if somebody's really wants to work and they're proactive and they want to proceed, but and perhaps they don't have the experience or the skills. I think now, over many years of hiring, that to me, I see that as a benefit, whereas I might not have done in the past. And then in terms of the remote side, yeah, I mean, yeah, you need to be able to work remotely. People need to be organized. Uh, The quality of data that we have as a company is more important perhaps than an in-person company. I mean, it's easy if you can shout over the desk and ask somebody what happened last Tuesday, but our team and our clients are in multiple different countries, multiple different time zones. So I like to build systems that are really high quality in terms of data in, data out, task management reports, um, internally and externally, so that everybody can work asynchronous to some degree. I don't like to micromanage people. I don't want to run a company where everyone's micromanaged. So systems are a big part of that. And taking time to keep in touch with each other as well. We're all in different parts of the world. We throw ourselves all over the place, but we have regular. I have regular one-to-ones with all my team, and we have regular group calls every Monday morning. We're all on a call talking about the week ahead, what challenges we've got. Um, so yeah, just trying to keep in touch and make sure. I like to tell people that work for us, you'll be left alone, but you don't have to be lonely. Like there's people here who can help you and support you and things like that. But at the same time, if you're doing your work, nobody's going to bother you as much.
I like that, and I like that you mentioned like you have these one-to-ones with people.
Yeah,
Because some people, even though they might need help, they may feel restrained of reaching out and asking for help. While that should be encouraged, right?
absolutely.
Of course, try to figure it out on yourself. But if you're really stuck, like feel free. I'm here, even though I'm thousands of miles away, right?
Yeah, me or somebody on the team is available. Yeah, and we use Slack for communication, as probably you do. Um, and it's completely open. If somebody wants to message me, that's fine. If you want to message somebody else on the team, like absolutely no problem. Like it's pretty open in terms of management and communication. We all help each other really. And to be honest, I'm really lucky. Like the team we've built, I like everyone that works for me. Like I could go and have a coffee or a beer or whatever with any of them or all of them together, and I think that helps as well. A good atmosphere generally, good vibes, and everyone gets on. I think that solves a lot of problems.
Yeah, that's super important. Like people need to click, right? They need to have this connection. Is there anything like you got wrong about scaling the agency? Either I know there is, but what's like one big thing, like either with clients or with hiring, like whatever it might be. What was like one thing you did wrong and would do differently?
Oh God, we could probably do a whole other conversation on mistakes. How much time you got? So many things. I mean, I think mistakes are part of the process. Like you want to make mistakes. Really, if you're not making mistakes, you probably play
You're
it
not
too
doing
safe.
anything.
Yeah, yeah. But I think one thing with me and I think with our culture as a company, we own mistakes. But from a client perspective, if mistakes are made and something goes wrong in an account, my sort of go-to stance and what I try to instill in everybody is we don't run away or hide. We get in front of it. We tell the client what's going on. We bring solutions, not problems. So I think problems and mistakes are natural. I think how you handle them is important.
This is perfect. Yeah, I'll touch more on that later when we talk about trust and how you are keeping your clients. One thing I want to touch on is also like once this, I know transition was like longer and you're getting more clients, and that's when you decided let's hire someone. But what are you doing differently now than what you were doing when you were a freelancer? How are you getting these clients? What are kind of channels? Are you doing Google Ads? Are you doing some reach outs? Is it referrals? Like, what's the main um, part of that?
It's interesting that you ask if I'm doing Google Ads. No. um, Google Ads for Google Ads agencies is like maybe the most competitive market, I mean, literally in the world. So we actually don't do it. People might not appreciate that, but that's the truth. Yeah, but I mean, we're lucky, really. We've gained a lot. We've gained a bit of momentum over the years. So we've got good profiles on a number of different platforms, Upwork, Clutch. We've got good Google reviews, things like that. So, and obviously we've built that over time. They're always good because they're hard to fake. You know, when you have real reviews from real clients that are verified, any prospect or any business that sees that, I think it holds some weight. We do a lot on social, so mainly X and LinkedIn. We do a lot on that in terms of trying to be regular, trying to give value, and that's it really. Yeah, I mean, we also have a number of partners that we work with. So obviously we do only Google Ads, and we do have partnerships with other agencies that offer other services that are not Google Ads. So it might be SEO agency or a meta agency, and oftentimes we have relationships with partners like that where we recommend each other work. So if one of our clients asks for some web development, we might offer that to somebody we work with, or vice versa. Clients recommend work to us as well, so that's helpful too. And yeah, a little bit of a mix, really.
Cool. So it's this partner referrals and then organic on LinkedIn and X, and once they go to your website or your X or whatever, or your Google Clutch, they see these reviews, they see these positive outcomes you managed, and then they reach out.
Yeah, and we do get some organic inquiries just from the platforms as well. I mean, because our profile is on there as in the directory, and we got some good reviews, and we've invested some time into building those up. So yeah, we do get the odd inbound from that as well, even without any social or anything. So that's been good. Hard to get to that level where it starts to work, but once you get there, it can be good. So anyone listening, I would encourage you to do that as well.
Perfect. And I want to hear your thoughts on this. I know a lot of founders get stuck on at a certain point because they're too involved with service delivery instead of trying to grow their business. How are you balancing that, like still keeping in touch with what's going on in your business from service delivery standpoint and keeping in touch with clients, but also trying to find these new clients and growing your business? Like, what's the balance between that?
Yeah, that's definitely a challenge as you scale. Couple of thoughts on that. So I still quite like Google Ads. Like it interests me. It's something that I enjoy. So I sometimes have to battle not to jump in. The team are good at what they do, and sometimes I'm better staying out of it, even if I don't want to. But yeah, I mean, I think finding the right people and building systems, and I think this again, with us being a remote agency, systems are super important. I mean, I'm kind of like a systems person. I'm not very creative. I can't draw you a picture, but I'm decent with a spreadsheet and some numbers. So I think it suits my personality as well. But having good processes, good SOPs, and hiring great people, skilling them up, allowing them to do the work, allowing them to make mistakes too, but trying to build a team that if something does go wrong, the rest of the team can help you. So it's tough sometimes, yeah. I mean, and I think sometimes, clients, rightly or wrongly, and perhaps rightly, often want my input. And sometimes, I say to them, look, you don't want me to do it. You want
Yeah.
one of my team to do it because genuinely they're better than me. It's depending on what we're talking about. There's some things they do far better than I do. So yeah, not being the face of it can sometimes can be a challenge, but touch wood. I think we do all right. Yeah, we manage it.
Yeah. So the team is most important part, right?
Yeah.
If they don't know what they're doing, it all just collapses. So system
Yeah.
builds a system, make sure they are thriving, and then they are doing better than you. So that's
Yeah, and consistency as well, right? Like if your team's great, then that's wonderful. But you want to try and have the ways that you do things, like no two counts are the same. But if you've got 10 strategists or 10 account managers and they all do it in their own specific way, that's problematic as well, because you can't manage that, and you don't really benefit from the learnings from one account if it's completely different to another account that somebody else is managing. So I think systems and processes as a company as well help in that regard, and make that service delivery better and more reliable, more consistent, which is important in our industry for sure.
I love that. And I want to talk a bit about integrity. I know it's really a touchy conversation, especially in the agency world. I like that you say like we own our mistakes. If something goes wrong, you reach out to the client with a solution to what went wrong and explaining why that happened and how we can prevent it in future, which is like communication, openness, and just integrity as a whole. Like you were mentioning, you have a client that you got a decade ago and they're still with you. So I'm imagining like integrity is a big part of this. How do you manage that? How do you make sure everything is running smoothly and communication is open?
I think it's just like the culture. I mean, that sounds a little bit, cheesy, but that's how I would work. I'm a pretty straight talker. Like if there was no agency, if I was still freelancing and I had the direct relationship with a client, that's what I would do. So I think I try and instill that in the business because that's how I work. I couldn't imagine. The worst thing for me is a client logs into their Google Ads account and they notice a problem and they tell me about it. Like, not only is that bad business, it's embarrassing. Like, it should never happen. So, you know, we have to avoid that at all costs. So yeah, I like to be in front of things. And look, it's a complex subject matter. Like, it's not going to be 10x every week forever. Unfortunately, things change.
Yeah.
It's not always perfect. So it's just the reality of what we do, and any business. And I think dealing with those dips is vital. Really, if you can turn all your bad days into good days, you'd be all right.
I wanted to touch a bit on like you mentioned that a lot of your clients come to you after they already had a horrible experience with another agency. And do you have like thoughts why does that happen? Do they overpromise? Do they lie? Like what do they do wrong and what you do differently to avoid all of that?
Yeah, unfortunately, it is true. That's probably like 99% of all of our clients, unfortunately. Look, there's tons of good agencies out there. Absolutely. I'm not trying to say that we're better than everybody else at all, but that is the truth. I mean, everybody that I talk to has generally had a bad experience. I think it's like anything, right? If the person if you're running a business and you're not going to be an expert on Google Ads, and nor should you be. You're doing something else. And I think unfortunately some people can take advantage of that. And if you lack the knowledge to double guess what somebody tells you, then unfortunately you can be misled. Yeah, it's sad. I mean, it does happen. Like I say though, there's tons of good agencies out there, and not everybody does that. But I think it does happen a lot, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And it's easy to overpromise, and a lot of business owners, they really want it to work. So, that emotionally, if you tell them it will work, that they're probably going to say yes. And I think a lot of people, unfortunately, take advantage of that.
Yeah. And why do you think that is? Is it like information is more available now? So almost anyone can do Google Ads, right? Like you just, it's easy to do them, but it's hard to
Well,
do them well.
anybody can say they do Google Ads.
Yeah.
That's a great point. Yeah, I mean, there's no degree you can get. I mean, Google do offer some like certifications, but I mean, you could do them in an afternoon. It's really not difficult. So yeah, I don't know how you solve that, but I think that's a fair point. I mean, it's like anything, isn't it? I mean, I can't fix cars. Like, if I go to an unscrupulous mechanic, he can open the bonnet and tell me anything, and I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, fine. How much? Like, I think you just have to be, as a buyer, you have to be aware. You have to check reviews. You have to ask for case studies, references. I think it goes across all industries. I think it's what you have to do.
Are there some like big red flags that other people can like spot and try to avoid these kinds of agencies? Should they ask for a not only written review, but hey, can I call that client and ask them how you did? Or like, are there any red flags, and then how to um, get rid of those red flags and how to vet the agency properly?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, I mean, talking to other clients is a good one. I often I will offer sometimes to people to connect them with some of our existing clients, and they if they want to call them, they can call them. So I think that's a really good one. If you're a customer, if you're a business owner trying to find a Google Ads agency, don't be afraid to ask, like, can I speak to a couple of your current clients? I mean, if they say no to that, I'd probably be concerned. I think other things to look out for. I mean, some of this is just my opinion, but I'll give you an example, right? So long contracts, like a lot of, well, not a lot, but some agencies tie everybody in for 6 months, 12-month contracts. Now, if that's just a business practice, there's nothing inherently wrong with it. And I suppose some agencies would say, well, look, to get anything to do it properly, to optimize for the long term, we need commitment from the client to make sure that, with the blah, 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 blah. But to me, if you're a great agency, if you can deliver results, they should speak for themselves. We only offer 30-day rolling contracts. It's literally the only option that we offer. We don't tie anybody in for 6 months. And personally, I see that as a red flag. If somebody needs me to commit to 6 months before they can commit to showing a result, maybe not. Some other stuff that's a bit more obvious, I think, is I've heard examples of agencies or freelancers that they build the Google Ads campaigns in their account, and then you as a client pay for them. To me, that's always a red flag. Like they're hiding the data, the ring fence and everything. If you decide that you want to go in a different direction, they hold the campaigns hostage. I hear about that a lot. That to me is a major red flag as well. You should own your Google Ads account. You should own your campaigns. If you stop working with an agency or freelancer, you should retain them. Yeah, be
Your
careful
data.
with that. Absolutely, you've paid it. You've paid to produce it. You paid for the clicks. It's yours. Yeah.
That's really like a good point, especially like these agencies will try to sway you and just watch out, right?
Not all of
Watch
them.
out.
Not all of them.
Not,
There's a lot of there's a lot of good guys out there, but yeah, unfortunately, um,
yeah.
it's pretty common.
Why do you think your model works better, and what are some of the benefits for that for the client? Of course, they get 30 days, so they are not stuck in your contract, but what are some other benefits that they get with working with you or agencies like you who make sure integrity is still there?
Yeah, I mean, I think the 30. Well, it goes hand in hand. I mean, most of the clients that we deal with, unfortunately, have had a negative experience, or even a lackluster experience. Where nothing really. It wasn't terrible, but nothing really happened, and so I think the 30 days oftentimes gives them a level of faith that, okay, well, you must be good at what you do because you're not trying to tie me in, and we are, and that speaks volumes. So I think that's one thing that clients appreciate. Um, and I think we don't overpromise. I mean, we, in my opinion, I believe that we do the basics really well. Good old fashioned hard work. Like we put the hours in, we do the work. We don't run away. We're not hard to find. Most people that we deal with, most clients we bring on, their previous experience is often they sign a contract, they're client number one for a week, and then after a month, they're less important. And after 6 months, they never hear from the agency and they're constantly chasing them for updates. We actually pay attention and communicate with clients and work and do the basics right. I mean, it's really not that hard. I think that's unfortunately one of our USPs. I mean, it should be the standard, but it's not for everyone. So yeah, we do the basics right. We work hard. We try and be honest and straight with our clients. We don't mislead them or blind them with science or promise them unrealistic results. And yeah, I think that wins a lot of the time. You don't have to necessarily be doing some crazy strategy or some cutting edge, techno whatever. Like, do the basics, do it well, turn up, do the work, be honest, and that's it. Sounds
Yeah, it
simple.
all circles back. Yeah, it all circles back. Be honest, have an integrity, and make sure clients are getting what you're telling them they're get. Right? Don't overpromise. Don't shine,
Yeah,
show
and
the
and, and
shiny objects.
And equally, if they're not getting it, or if it's like even on the sales side, on the new business side, if we're prospecting for business and we're doing research on a new project, we've absolutely turned projects down and just said, look, guys, I don't think Google Ads is right for you. Like, And these are the reasons why, in your particular market, it's heavily saturated, the CPCs are inflated, whatever it might be. I've had those conversations and I've said, look, if things change, reach out. We'd love to work with you. But I couldn't hand on heart recommend it as the good channel. So, you lose a little bit of business occasionally because of that, but that's fine. I mean, what goes
That's
around comes around.
that's probably why your churn is super low when you have these clients for years and years and years, not just a couple of months and they skip. So I don't think you lose anything there. It's part of who
Well,
you are and your brand.
and I think also you've just mentioned a good point there, a couple of months and then skip. I think actually for some freelancers or agencies, unfortunately, that's a viable business model. Like there's enough people out there using Google Ads that you can just churn customers every 3 months and unfortunately still afford to stay in business. So yeah, I think if any clients are watching, just buyer beware, do your research, check reviews, ask for recommendations, because it's your money at the end of the day. It's easy to spend money on Google Ads. It's the result that matters.
This is perfect. Yeah. Thanks, John. Like I believe it would be like nice to maybe touch a bit on Google Ads as themselves. What do you think was or changed the most about Google Ads since you
Oh wow.
started? I
Oh
believe it's
wow.
a totally
Yeah,
different role.
it changes all the time, really. Yeah, I mean, my team are sick of me saying this, but it's not set and forget. What works today won't work in 3 months, 6 months, a year. And also technically, Google release different things constantly, new campaign types. They change the way things work within the account. Recently, over the last months and years, there's a much heavier push towards automation and machine learning. So Google encourage everybody to try and aggregate as much data as possible, which for a lot of advertisers means spending more money, which it might not always be the best choice. So yeah, I mean, it's evolved so much. Yeah, it's and it continues to, and where it will be in 5 years, even I don't know. It changes so often, so it's ever evolving.
Yeah, especially now with AI and all this stuff. Like, how do you stay up to date with all these changes and ensure your clients are getting the best service? Is it testing, getting data in, and adapting to that, or is there something you guys are tracking, or how do you go about that?
Yeah, in terms of it's tracking all of our data. It's comparing notes between. Well, I mean, we're lucky in that although we deal with one platform, we deal with many different industries, products, services, audiences. So comparing notes as a team, what worked over here. Somebody's selling further education in Tokyo. You might do a certain technique with that campaign, and strangely, it translates to somebody selling e-com stuff in Latvia or whatever. So comparing notes and being open with different strategies is important. I think just following what goes on. There's a lot of people I learn from as well. There's a lot of other agency owners. There's a lot of good resources out there. I'm not I'm not too proud to say it. I follow other agency owners and experts on X and LinkedIn, and oftentimes I learn a lot from them as well. And just paying attention really, yeah, and making sure you're ahead of the curve as much as possible.
Yeah. And what are your thoughts on AI? There are all these headlines. SEO is dying, Google Ads is dying, like all these different marketing channels are dying because there are these new LLMs that are like ChatGPT, they're taking over. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Are they a bit?
I think it's fascinating. I mean, AI is fascinating to me. I mean, I'm a bit of a nerd anyway, so I find the whole thing interesting. I spend a lot of time playing with these tools, and we try and use them as much as possible in the business. Like Google Ads is changing a lot. I mean, Google's implementing AI into the product itself. We've got AI overviews now, and it's the mechanics of what happens within Google Ads, the matching engine, and that things like that is more and more AI driven. So it's fascinating what happens. I mean, I look at my own behavior. Even as a Google Ads agency owner, I probably use ChatGPT more than Google now when I'm asking questions or things like that, and that's interesting. I can't ignore that fact. Um, so yeah, it is fascinating. There's still tons of time, I think, with Google Ads. They've still got 93% of the market share, I think, although ChatGPT is gaining some. And also, I think personally, I look at the vast resources that Google have as a company, both in terms of money and brain power. And I just think no matter how big the challenge is, I find it hard to bet against Google as an organization. I just believe they'll figure it out. So it'll be an interesting ride. I mean, maybe we'll have this conversation in 5 years and I'll be completely wrong, but we'll see. It'll be fun.
Yeah, it's they are shaking up everything, but you're right. These big companies, they won't just sit there and let them take over. Like there is the whole process there. So
Yeah, well, people have said that in the past, though. Look at Kodak or Blockbuster or whatever. So
yeah,
could be wrong. We'll roll with the punches. But I think, at least for the next 12 months, I think we're all right.
you're fine. Yeah, yeah. AI is still doing some funky things that are like it's all over the place, but it's improving rapidly, which is it's
We
amazing.
use it too. It has its positives as well. I mean, particularly when we're analyzing data, we obviously some accounts that we run, there's the huge volumes of data that we need to analyze, and oftentimes, we'll use LLMs to support us with that. To extract data, to model things, performance. So it has its benefits as well, I think.
Yeah, great for automation and just getting some of these manual tasks, especially
Yeah.
that should be easy to handle. Do you have any, like, is there a mistake that you see brands doing while doing Google Ads? Like something that everyone does and it's not particularly the best idea to do?
I mean, yeah, there's things that are probably common. Having a good track of your data is really important. So conversion tracking, being able to track success accurately and feeding that data back into Google. That seems to be a common challenge for a lot of people. So making sure that you've got a good handle over your data is really important. Um, it depends on the client and the size of the account. I mean, there's different common problems as you enter different tiers, I suppose. But data is definitely a big one. Controls, we mentioned before, Google's leaning heavily into like AI and automation, and that's good in some respects. But I think gradually we lose control in terms of some campaign types now are heavily automated. And I think common mistake is oftentimes trusting them a little bit too much. Performance Max is a good example. If you don't have the right controls and you don't have the right, uh, settings in there and exclusions, it can be a little bit aggressive with spend. So I see that. And over reliance also on broad match, which results in high volume, high spend, and oftentimes not great quality. So I think using automation is important, but I think unfiltered, unfettered AI and automation is a common issue. We see that a lot.
I would assume these automations work better the more data you have, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Even
for big advertisers with huge budgets, it's fantastic. Once you get over the initial pain of gathering the data, the success you get from the other side is awesome. For small to medium sized businesses, often the hill is too high. The cost of acquiring all that data is too painful. So you need to think about it a little bit differently if that's the case. But you have to base the strategy on who the business is, what the budget is, what the market's like. Um, there's no cookie cutter approach. That's another common mistake, actually. Going back to mistakes, try to use the same strategies for different accounts. It's just not realistic. You need to understand the business. You need to understand the audience, the competitors. What works for one client, even if it's the exact same business, might not work in a different country, might not work in a different language. Like there's so many variables. You have to make sure you tailor and everything for each client. That I would say.
amazing. Okay. So for a business owner that wants to start Google Ads today, like
Mm.
are there some kind of steps they should take? Should they try it themselves? Should they find some professional who can help out? Like what's the best course of action here?
Starting from scratch, right?
Yeah, literally nothing. They heard about Google Ads and they want to like see what's that about.
Okay, so I think we're lucky nowadays that there's a lot of actually good quality content out there. I mean, we do a little bit of it, but there's a lot of stuff on YouTube. So some really good creators on there. I would start just learning, and I would experiment yourself if you're interested with a small budget. Expect to fail, but I think even just that experiment, knowing your way around Google, the structure, how it works, even if what you do fails, when you do eventually engage somebody, you will at least have a level of knowledge where you can understand what they're saying. You can perhaps have an opinion on what they're saying, and I think stops you from potentially being misled if you do engage with a freelancer or an agency. So I wouldn't be afraid to experiment a little bit, absorb as much information as possible, control your budget so that you don't spend too much experimenting, and hopefully, if you see a little bit of initial success, you might think about engaging a freelancer or an agency, depending on your size. But yeah, don't be afraid to test it a little bit.
Nice. And before we wrap up here, like I know you mentioned to me how important your routine is and the deep work there is for you. How does your day actually look like? And what are some of these habits that you make sure to stay focused at a task at hand and not going all over the place?
Cool. Yeah. So, well, living in Thailand actually is part of this, or living with a different time zone. So, a lot of our clients are in Europe and the US. So, for me personally, when I get like 6-7 hours in the morning, before most of my clients wake up, before a lot of my team wake up, they're they're precious hours to me. So, I like to. It's an absolute luxury to never have to set an alarm clock. Like, that's wonderful. I love that. Mornings for me are deep work. So I wake up in the morning, pound some coffee, and then I'm on the computer pretty much straight away. I know what I'm going to do. I've got tasks set, and there's no Slack, there's no interruptions, there's no phone calls. I get 3-4 hours of solid, like, deep work, and that's been a game changer. I've only really prioritized that over the last probably 8 to 12 months. Um, and consistency is key. It's good for a day or two, but if you do it for 3 months, 6 months, for me, it's been like total game changer. So I really love that. Um, and then I like working out. I can go and hit the gym. I can come back and have a bite to eat, and I can relax a little bit. As after doing 4 hours of work before, my European team are online. Yeah, so I'm ahead of the game. By the time you guys are waking up and having your first coffee, I'm well ahead. So that's a great advantage, and it's one of the luxuries of being able to live in a different time zone. The downside of that, of course, is the occasional late night, but to me, it's a small price to pay.
I agree. And this is really interesting to me because for the past like a month or so, even two, I really started to doing something similar to you. Like I wake up around 6 and up until 10, like no one can Slack me, no one can call me. Like I'm blacked out. Like don't touch me.
Yeah.
And especially clients are waking up later. So it's a bit hard because a lot of my team is in the same time zone. But still, if it's really something urgent, they can get me on my phone. But I shut down everything because it's impossible. Like you're working, doing great progress, and then there is a message here, message there, a phone call here. It all just pulls away from what you're doing. So you're doing poorly on both sides instead of focusing on one task at hand. Like, are there any tips you have for me? Like, what do you like? Okay, your team is asleep, but is there anything in particular you do it as well?
I mean, some of this is cliche. I mean, some of this is but it works for me. So I plan tomorrow today. So
Mm.
whatever time this evening I end up closing the laptop or wrapping up, I'm writing what my tasks are for my 4-hour session tomorrow morning. So when I open the laptop, I know what I'm doing. The reason I do that is when I don't know what I'm doing, I'll open my email, I'll check the news, and an hour's gone by and nothing's happened. So setting today what the priorities are for tomorrow morning for me is a big benefit. Like that helps a lot. I try not to check email pretty much ever. I mean, I'm lucky to have an assistant who handles my email box and just tells me about things that I need to know. That's been a big change for me as well. Not being reactive. I read somewhere that an inbox is a to-do list that everybody else writes, and I thought, oh, that's good. So
Yeah.
I try and have that managed, so I only see what's important, and I don't have to react to things, which has been helpful. And good sleep. Like, I'm getting old now, and when I don't have a good night's sleep, I feel it. Like mentally, my energy, my concentration's not there. So good sleep, plan the day before, no distractions, no email, just get it done, and consistency. You got to do it for a while for it to really pay off.
This is amazing. Thanks, John.
You're doing all right, anyway. I'm sure you could give me some tips. You don't need tips from me.
No. Like this is perfect because just recently, like I don't know, a week ago, I started like writing tasks for myself as well, and that's what I do at the end of my day. For tomorrow, I write down, okay, this is what I need to do,
Yeah.
and it's really big helpful. So that you just mentioned it, it's I'm on a good track, I guess.
And
Um,
one more thing. I know you want to move on, but my to-do list is pen and paper.
okay.
I'm a digital person, but pen and paper. And that's intentional as well, because if it, yeah, previously I would use notes in my phone or something like that. But as soon as you pick up your phone, something else is going on, and before you know it, you're in Slack or yeah. So pen and paper. I don't even pick up my phone until early afternoon. So that's another little John.
Yeah, my notes from our conversation as all are also like pen and paper. I think it's
Always, always,
yeah.
yeah.
Even though I'm on my laptop 24/7 almost.
Right.
If we have like 5 more minutes, can I prolong
Course.
this? Is that fine?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, of
cool.
course.
I have one more a good question. Like I just said, like we are on our laptops whole day and working remotely. How do you make boundaries, right? When you're running a full remote company as I am, and you could technically work all day, every day. So how do you create these boundaries where you say, okay, this is now family time, or this is now I need to go to gym, I need to eat, because these things just get pushed along because work is a priority.
Mm. Well, I think for me personally, I am a creature of habit. Like I have a routine, and I don't really like not having a routine. So I make sure that everything's built in. And I think it might not be the sort of PC answer or whatever, but I think sometimes you have to work long hours. I think you have to work hard. I don't think it's a bad thing. I mean, you shouldn't do it to the point where it's messing up your life or your health, but I think it's part of the deal. So I like to look at things in seasons. So there might be 30 days, 60 days, 90 days where I'm full on, working a lot of hours, and I'm focused on a particular outcome. And then there's other times where, I'm not, and purposely the team know that I'm not available or whatever it might be, and I take some time to rest. So yeah, I think working hard's part of the deal. You can't expect it all and not work for it. The best way to get what you deserve is the best way to get what you want is to deserve it, right? Or something like that. So yeah, for me, making sure I have a good routine, positive structure, and working in seasons. Sometimes it's 100% grind, and sometimes it's not, and that's okay.
I like that. That's cool. Yeah, there are periods where you need to just push through, and it is what it is, right? But also, if you enjoy it, it's not like for me. I love it. I love to do that. I love
Yeah.
to work a lot, and it's not that big of a deal. So, um, that's nice. And for the end, like if you had to name your biggest gambit, since we are the founders gambit, like what's the riskiest decision or a biggest sacrifice that you did, and did it pay off? Was it worth it for you?
Oh, good question. I mean, I can think of plenty of risks I've taken that didn't pay off. One thing, I mean, I don't know if this is a good answer to the specific question that you've asked, but a lot of gambles that I don't know if it's gambits, but a lot of things that I've tried in the past haven't worked, right? And I've realized over time, I think maybe it's old age and a bit of experience, but I've realized that it's a tendency sometimes to avoid work. So bit of a personal insight, but I think sometimes if there's a particular challenge with the business, like if we're trying to, create a new marketing channel, or we're trying to achieve a certain growth goal, I think in the past I would hire somebody, or, push resources towards the problem as a way of subconsciously a way of avoiding actually doing it myself. Now, it doesn't mean that you should be doing everything yourself. Having a good team is important, but I think I've understood that a lot of the gambits that I have taken that haven't paid off are for the wrong reason. So I think I'm a bit more careful now with that type of thing. When it comes to hiring, when it comes to investing in different systems, I'm definitely a bit more careful in that. I think I've been a bit reckless in the past, and it definitely hasn't paid off. In terms of things that have paid off, I think backing yourself. I mean, in general, like having a bit of confidence in yourself that you can make things happen. Like, and even if something fails, you know, a business might fail or an idea might fail, but you won't. the next one, you'll do the next one, you do the next one. Businesses fail, but I think people win. So having a bit of self-confidence, I think, not always easy, but that's probably the biggest thing that's paid off.
This is amazing. Yeah, and I love what you mentioned here because I catch myself doing it also here. Like there is a new task at hand. I have no clue about it, and then I feel like it's the best decision to find someone who knows better than me instead of okay, that might be the best decision, but first, let's a bit try it yourself. Let's understand it better. Let's research it better, and then try to lay it off if needed. If not, maybe you just figure it out and do it better than anyone would ever do because you know your company. So this is something I have to work on, and this is just a good reminder. Thanks.
I think it's a balance. I think it's a balance too, right? Like you shouldn't be solving all the problems yourself. That's a mistake too. Um, but yeah, somewhere in the middle is a balance. I'll let you know if I figure it out. I'm still working on it.
Cool. Perfect. This was amazing, John. Yeah, thank you so much for sitting down with me, giving us your time. And where can people follow you? Where can they connect with you? Are there any things you want to plug?
Yeah, I mean, you can find me on LinkedIn, John Martin, paid ads. I'm also pretty active on X. So yeah, you can find me on there. Feel free to reach out if anyone wants any advice or got any questions. Happy to help.
Amazing. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Gabriel. Always a pleasure, mate.